Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast is presented by FanDuel Sportsbook. Make every moment more.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome into Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcast. Welcome to a week of July 4th celebrating. Really, probably a week and a half. Is there any better day for the 4th to fall on than a Tuesday? I mean, certainly nobody's going to do anything on Monday. Then nobody's definitely going to do anything on Tuesday. And then by Wednesday, what are you going to do? Come back in for 3 days? Well, I did. Yes, I did. So did the skull crusher, John Henry. You know who didn't? The Senator, Phil Perry. Not with us, but couldn't be happier to have my guy Cerrone Battle with us. You know Cerrone from his time on 98.5. You might have listened to his pod with Leroy Irvin. So he's going to join us in just a minute. But this will be the last pod unless something untoward happens between now and the week of camp, okay? Because I'm going on vacation. I'm going to scuba in Aruba. I'm actually not going to scuba. I'm going to go on one of those ATV things. If you've ever been to Aruba, they're incredibly fun. If you've never been, I suggest you go there and get on one. So I'm going to be going to Aruba next week, bringing my golf clubs. Nobody plays golf on Aruba because it's 75-mile-an-hour gale force winds at all times, but I can't go to the beach because I'm a pasty white Irishman. So I go out there with my big sombrero and play golf in gale force winds. So looking forward to that. And camp will begin 7:25. So that week, 7:24, we'll be back at it. 7:25, we'll be potting, and then we're going to get right into it. We'll probably have a small pod every single day. Phil will be back next week, okay? And then I think we're both off the following week. So don't be looking for anything unless the poop hits the fan, okay? We're not content mavens 24/7. We're going to give you an unbelievable season of coverage, though, okay? Candidly. Part of that coverage might just include my guy, Cerrone Battle, who I'm going to bring in right now. And here he is. Cerrone, thanks for being here, buddy.
Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate this.
Yeah, it's a good week for us. We did Sports Sunday on Sunday night. Now we're back at it 3 days later, for this pod. And we wanted to flip this pod around and hear from fans because the deadest of dead periods, we feel, at least I do, that we have pounded the hell out of every storyline. So I wanted to hear what fans had to say and what they had to offer. And I think that you're great to have on for this because you have an unconventional path that you have followed to becoming a member of the media.
It's wild when you say that.
Yeah. Do you view yourself as such at this point? Because you have gone from, the path of being someone who was doing it for fun and for passion and for enjoyment, and the entertainment that you provided created a following, and you appeared on the radar of so many people that people are like, this guy's great.
Yeah. I mean, this is the first time I've heard someone say, member of the media. I still look at myself as
you cringe a little.
Yeah, it's like, no, not me. I'm not those guys. But it's pretty cool. Growing up in Boston, born and raised in Dorchester, to see myself in this situation on this side of it, as opposed to just being a fan. It's pretty cool and it's different, but I enjoy it. It's pretty fun.
Give me your backstory. You grew up in Dorchester. Where'd you go to high school, and how'd you get into this?
I grew up in cross between Dorchester and Roxbury, and went to West Roxbury High. And most of my high school, though, was in South Carolina, in Walterboro, South Carolina, in the country a little bit.
Yep.
But I went to West Roxbury High senior year, excuse me. But the radio path, it started with Leroy Irvin, and it was just an idea that he pitched around one day, and he had some recording stuff. So we decided to do it and put it on MySpace back in 2007. And we added the music element to it because that's what MySpace and all that was all about. So we would talk sports, but have a music theme according to what we was talking about, and it kind of had that playing in the background. It got kind of popular, and the right people, I guess, heard it then, and have been kind of following us up until now. So it's been since 2007.
What did those first 2007, like when you sat down, who was the host, who was the sidekick, or was it co-hosts and
actually
took the lead? Or
it was
would you
me.
would you look back now and say, holy crap, we didn't know what we were doing, or we were pretty good?
we kind of felt like we didn't know what we were doing until we go back and listen. And we're like, well, it wasn't that bad. And Leroy, he did all the production. He's really good at that stuff. And he did all the editing, all the production. He did everything. And he kind of was off the mic. So it was me and his brothers, Matthew and Daniel Irvin. And we had fun with it. And that when we first started is when they signed, when they got Randy Moss and Wes Welker. So we had plenty to talk about. And the Celtics were loaded up. So it was easy, conversation back in 2007. And we get picked up by a small local radio station. I'm not going to say names, but it was kind of a pirate thing. And we didn't think much people were listening or whatever. And next thing you know, people were calling in and they were all over us for it. And the show was called Play Action, and it kind of picked up. And there's some people who, are at 98.5 now and, heard it back then, but weren't in the positions they are now. And long story short, over time, we stayed persistent. We did podcasts, stuff like that. We did things at NBC. That was pretty cool. We did that up until I think around the time COVID hit and threw everything, in the wind. But but here we are back, and I'm glad to be in this situation here with you guys at NBC and over at 98.5.
Well, the funniest thing about it is, because as you guys imagine, we all have our folks that we follow. If you guys are on social media who are listening, you get your people on social media, you follow on Twitter. Maybe they end up on your Facebook feed and they're constantly at the top of your feed. And for whatever reason, folks, I have Cerrone Battle Ackerman popping up every friggin' time. Every time I open Facebook, I got him, and he's on my Twitter every time. And he and I share a frigging sports brain. Everything that he's thinking, I'm thinking. And it's actually easier for him to say it, especially Celtics wise, because we're married up with that organization. But when he says it, retweet. Did that today with Curran Williams.
Yeah, let me. I guess I got to tone it down a little bit, but hey.
No, you did not have to tone it down. Okay. You don't have to tone it down. I just go. He said it.
That's cool. It's all good, man.
No toning down. You're fantastic. But that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on after spending some time with you the other day. Is, if we're going to do something fun and get some fan reaction, and it's funny how I just said reaction. I set up like reaction. We're going to have an opportunity to talk to somebody who's been on that side of the fence more recently than me. And that's really, my path and track to where I am. It's not that far different from yours, except for the fact that I started at 24 and didn't become media in a sense until I was 29 years old, in covering, the Patriots.
Yep.
So I was spraying lawns. I was selling security systems. I was an English major in college, but hadn't gotten any traction. Then I get traction on the Cape in 1992 when I'm, 26 years old. And that's at a weekly newspaper. It takes me 5 years to go from the Barnstable Patriot to the Claremont Eagle Times in New Hampshire, to stringing for the Ledger and the Attleboro Sun Chronicle, to working for the Waltham News Tribune, to working for the Metro West Daily News for 5 years from 97 to 02, then the Providence Journal. But I never felt like, as you're doing it, and you might feel the same way, as you're doing it and you're watching the conventional media, and it was even more profound then. It was very much a pack mentality to the way sports were covered, whether it was Globe, Herald, Journal. The head coach would talk. Everybody would use the same quotes. Everyone would have the same storyline. Nobody would break out anything differently. And it was a pack mentality the way it was covered. And everybody shared the same opinion. And it was just a chorus. It was the media, and the media didn't have a general, there weren't a lot of different viewpoints in it. The Patriots, I think, ushered that in.
Yeah.
The Bledsoe, Brady.
Yeah. I can only imagine being in the media then.
It was incredible because I, really was all set with Drew at that point. And when I saw Brady playing, I was like, oh, and that really ushered in a whole group of different media in different ways. And it made the media much, much, much more advocacy media within the media. There was fighting. You never saw fighting within the media, at least in my first few years, about viewpoints. But then it really, people were battle lines were drawn.
Real quick with that, the Tom Brady thing and being done with Drew. At the time, I was working for American Airlines, and I was working overnight. So I wanted to see the Patriots preseason games because I wanted to see Andy Katzenmoyer, the kid from Ohio State.
Yep.
I wanted to see him play as a Patriot. So I recorded it while I was at work. And since we were working on the planes, back then the planes had VCR, so we threw the tape on like 2:00 in the morning. And Brady came in that game and lit it up in a preseason game. And I'm like, yo, this dude looks like a video game. It's easy for him. And that was my first time seeing Tom Brady, and a bunch of guys sitting on a plane working for American Airlines were like, yo, this dude looks far better than Drew Bledsoe. And we started arguing on the plane. It's like this, he's a rookie, he's young, he's not this, he's not that, and the conversation right back to Andy Katzenmoyer and all this other stuff. And the Brady talk kind of went away. Mm-hmm. But that was, the same way you say the media got into it as fans. I remember sitting on that plane, divided, arguing about how good Tom Brady was and saying it was only a preseason game. It's like, yeah, but the ball is still
popping
fast and accurate, and he's hitting guys in stride over and over again. And I want to say, I think that might have been the last of the Michael Bishop. Yeah, he was kind of like Zappy Fever thing with Michael Bishop. People wanted Michael Bishop because he was running around like Vic and throwing these bombs, and everybody was caught up in him. I'm like, no, but that guy over there.
Yep, 100%. I mean, if you look at the 2000, folks, do yourself a favor. You can easily access a Pro Football Reference. You go back to the 2001 season, 2000 season, and look at the preseason stats. You'll look at Brady, not in the Hall of Fame game from 2000, but I think it was a game against the Lions, and he and Troy Brown went off.
Yep.
In a game against the Lions. And in 2001 preseason, he did it again. And if you remember, with 2001 preseason, Bledsoe played in the fourth preseason game all the way through the first half because he had been such ass through that preseason. And that was right after he signed $103 million. He
signed a $100 million deal. Yeah.
He made himself a sitting duck.
Yeah.
But that's why the media was like, if you were covering the Patriots at that time, you would cover Drew Bledsoe from the time he came into the league as the number 1 overall pick. You fell in love with his arm. Mm-hmm. You fell in love with his smarts. You fell in love with his introspection. You looked at Kraft as being bumbling. You looked at Pete Carroll as being bumbling. You looked at Drew as a victim to some extent. Mm-hmm. And I think he might have been.
Yeah.
He just got football weary. Like 2000. And when Belichick came back, here we go again. Now I get to probably twice. He was just weary of it. And he was a sitting duck because it's the same thing with anybody. It's like with me and Phil. I mean, here comes Phil. I'm like old, weary. I've been doing all this time. Phil's coming. Hey, look at all these stats I got. Yeah, what are you going to do? Take my job? So, but that was one of the dynamics to it that was so fascinating. Anyway, this is why we can do this shit forever. We could talk about this stuff.
I mean, and people laugh at me. I just call myself the biggest Brady fan. And there's so many, there's millions of Brady fans in the region, country, whatever, around the world now. But I was a fan of Charles Woodson in college.
Right.
So I watched Michigan games. Wasn't really paying attention to Brady then because they had like 8 quarterbacks at the time. But there was a quarterback there. Every time the game was tight, they'd put him in, the comeback kid. Accurate in the fourth quarter, comeback. Alabama didn't matter. Down 14, we're going to come back and win. Won the Orange Bowl, I believe it was, and Rose Bowl, I think. But all the attention was on Woodson. Yeah, it was. But it was like this kid, the comeback kid, keeps winning these games. So when the Patriots draft him, I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. He's on the team, whatever. But like you said, Drew just signed that big deal. You thought you'd never see him. That preseason game, I'm like, man, this dude is great, pretty good. And he's doing the same thing he did at Michigan. And he gets his opportunity, and it's like, well, there you go. And once he won his first couple games, I knew then, so Drew's not getting this back. This dude is too good. He's too accurate, and he's the coldest closer I've ever seen. And it turned out to be that way for 20 years.
It's funny because the day he got hurt, and I've told this story before, he got hurt, Bledsoe did, and he was playing so embarrassingly bad against the Jets. Mm-hmm. And Brady came in. He almost led him down the field to tie the game. He really moved the ball well. And they lost the game, I think, 10-3. They had no shot all game until Brady came in. So I came back up to the press box in the old Gillette Stadium, and Ron Borges and I, we were friends, but I was, whatever at the time, 2000, I was 33, and he was probably whatever, 50, 55. As far as I was concerned, the dean of the people covering the team, because I thought he was a great writer and great insight, passionate. So I would say shit, and I go behind him. I go, don't be too nice to the quarterback just because he got a boo-boo. He was horrible. So he goes, that set the stage. And then the next day we were there at Gillette. And we're standing there arguing. And I said, Bledsoe's never going to get his job back. I said, he was the worst fit for this team because he just stands there and passes the ball and he won't get rid of it. I said, he'll never get his job back. I didn't think that Brady was going to be what Brady turned into, but I did talk to Lloyd Carr after that first start.
Lloyd Carr
called him up, wrote a story for the Metro West Daily News. And it was basically the lead to it was Lloyd Carr being in his office and looking up and seeing that Patriots game on and saying he's going to lead them back. They're going to win. I've seen this thing too many times, which is
the comeback kid.
Surprised that they didn't come back. So anyway, let's get back into 2023 and let's get to 18 absolutely fantastic questions that got sent in to us today. And I can't thank enough the people who tune into our podcast and listen on a regular basis. It's so cool when I see people out. Guy was doing my inspection sticker down here in Freetown, Mass, last week, and his name is unfortunately escaping me, his first name. Awesome dude. He saw my name on the registration and put one and one together and comes over and goes, I love your podcast, man. It's so much. Do you know how great that is? You probably do.
I mean, this is, I wouldn't say it's new, but it's new to me. I mean,
people saying I appreciate you.
Yes, it's because I always in the back of my head think there's nobody listening. That's where I just think there's nobody listening, and then I get surprised by some of the reactions.
Well, here's a bunch of guys. I should get to them, and it is so cool though. It's like it's humbling because you would do this for free, and you would do this as you have, and I basically have do it for free, and you have done it for an audience of zero.
Yeah, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind. I figured I was gonna argue with my friends anyway about sports. It's what I do. I social media made it even easier. I can argue people I don't even know. So I'm gonna do it anyway. So I might as well do it in front of the camera or radio. I don't mind doing it. And I always, like you were saying back in the day, how everybody fought the same story, the same interview, whatever. I always looked at the approach of find something that no one's talking about. Find something in that game or in that moment that people are kind of overlooking and not paying attention to. And, getting into Patriots or whatever it may be, people are looking at, oh, this guy dropped the pass or this guy, whatever. And it's like, yeah, but if you look at it again, I'll just throw a name, Kevin Falk, he went to make a block and he fell on a play and he wasn't open. And that's how Brady got hit from his left side. Let's talk about how Falk keeps missing that play. Not saying he did, but I just try and find a different way to talk about the same game that everybody's watching and go from there.
Right. It's like there's innumerable ways to attack that. What's the context behind the final result?
Yes.
Belichick always bitches about that. Okay, yeah, we won a game 27-21. We had three guys running naked and alone behind our secondary, and they just didn't get hit. We should have lost the game. It's games you can win where you play like ass. Yeah, we're going to have one of those conversations with our second question from our guy Jason Starsky Sports. We're going to start first with Sterling Pingree, who simply asks, "What % chance would you give the Patriots? What way would you give? A, Patriots sign Hopkins. B, Patriots sign Cook. C, Patriots sign both Hopkins and Cook." I will be full of candor here. On these fronts, we are now at a point where mostly the national media is the one who is fed by agents the information about where a player leans. Okay, as it comes. So I'm not going to be getting an unfair advantage on you here with too much inside intel.
No, that's all right.
So Patriots sign Hopkins. I'm going to put that at 70.
Okay.
I'm going to say Patriots sign Cook at 10%. Do they sign both? I'm going to put that at 7%. I don't know how I did the math, but that's where I'm going.
I got you.
And my logic is they're the most motivated on Hopkins. Secondarily, I just don't see the motivation or hear the motivation mentioned with Cook. I hear insinuations that they may be marginally intrigued, but I think that's just vapor.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I stand on those guys.
I mean, I agree. I mean, I think all the attention is being put on Hopkins. They seem very interested in him, and I don't know how much everybody else wants him.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's how many other teams are really fighting for him. You know, what contender is like really needs. If you look at all the top teams, they're loaded at wide receiver. So it's a bunch of mid-level teams, like the Browns. He'd go back and play with Watson or something like that. But the Cincinnati's, Kansas City's, Buffalo, they don't need a receiver. They're not going to kill themselves to get him. Now, he might go there for less just to get a chance to win or something like that. But the question is, does he want to get his numbers? Does he want to win? Does he want to get paid? Or all of the above? And I think the Patriots are not only looking for a guy that can be productive, I think they're looking for a guy they can sell.
Mm-hmm.
They're looking for another name to put on the tickets, another name to put on the signs when you're walking in the arena. And I think it's just another attractive play. Yes, he'll help out on the team, of course, but I think we have to get our brand back up. We got to build our brand.
They're a boring team.
Yeah.
They're a boring. The product was paint dry boring at times last year. The offense was so bad, and we'll get into that a little bit later, that they had to be propped up by defensive and special teams touchdowns on multiple occasions.
Yep.
Their best players, Matt Judon, certainly not a household name outside of football fans.
Yep.
Very good player, great personality, somebody you'd like to have among your top 5 players, but he's their best player.
Yeah.
Mac Jones is an okay quarterback, but it's not like kids are going to grow up saying, I want to be Mac Jones. They'll say, Josh Allen. I want to be Josh Allen. I want to be Patrick Mahomes. I want to be Justin Herbert. I want to be Mac Jones. Why? No,
he was trending that way when he
not
was
yet. Yeah.
dancing in the Pro Bowl. It was going viral, and people kind of laugh at the whole social media thing. Social media is a massive money maker. It's when you're trending and you're getting attention on you, good attention. These owners notice that. And it's like, Kraft clicks the mouse and it's like that. Patriots is 19th trending NFL team or whatever. You go from having the face of the league to nobody using your team in Madden. Like it's
multiple faces. Think about
this.
Like Madden really does drive the bus. Even when I was playing friggin', Bo Jackson in the 1990s.
It's a big deal.
Techno, I want to be Marv Cook. I didn't want to have Hugh Millen. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to have Bo. I wanted to have. They have Marinovich. Was he playing quarterback for them in 1990?
Yeah, it was. Yeah. So, no one used it. It's a big deal.
Their biggest celebrities continue to be their head coach and their owner.
Yeah, that can't continue.
That.
No,
you can't drop off from Gronk and Brady and Edelman and Stephon Gilmore, your defensive player of the year, and Devin McCourty, one of the most recognizable and amusing and entertaining players of football, and Dante Hightower, to Jawan Bentley and Kyle Duggar.
Yeah,
both of those guys could walk down the middle of Newbury Street or whatever,
and no one would know. Yep,
who's that big dude?
Yeah.
All right, skip it on ahead. There's your answer on DeAndre Hopkins. People would know who the hell he was. This is a good one. Star Ski Sports. My guy, Jason Starr, says, Tom, was the 22 defense just good? Were they very good? Were they excellent? Or were they championship caliber? I'm going to let you field this one first, because I did a little research and I found it to be an interesting answer. What did you think?
You might have seen the same thing I noticed. I don't think they were good at all.
Okay. Not good at all.
Here's why. Look at every game on that schedule. When they played the Ravens, they gave up 30. They played the Bills, they gave up 30 plus. The Bears scored 30 plus in Foxborough. Kirk Cousins gave him 30. Derek Carr gave him 30. The Packers gave him 27. Now, when they played all those backup quarterbacks, I think they played about 6 of them. That's when the teams were getting 3 points, 10 points. I think the Jets, Lions, Colts, Steelers, Browns all struggled to get 20. And the defense feasted on those guys. I think the back-to-back weeks of the Lions and Browns,
Yep.
I think they forced them to like 11 turnovers. If you include remember the Lions had all those fourth downs they could convert?
They wanted to prove a point. That was a game, I think, where Dan Campbell said, we're going to be tougher than thou right now. We're going to run that right down. And the Patriots
stopped.
This is one thing we might be able to do. They keep trying to run.
Yeah.
All right, stuff them. Boom. They get the ball back. They score a little bit. I think they went
over and over again.
Yeah. And Zappy looked, this guy 29-0.
Yeah, it's like, but the other team gave it to you 6 times. But I mean, they feasted on backup quarterbacks and bad teams, but the good quarterbacks ate them up all year. It was like 30 a game to starting quarterbacks. So I don't think they were as good as people are portraying them. And I think it's something I would kind of look at during preseason, training camp, preseason, to see if that defense is really locked down like people think it is. And to me, them addressing corner right off the bat in the draft says, they saw the same thing I did.
100%.
Some of these quarterbacks are going to eat them up with that schedule they got coming up.
I also think they got a shit look from their offense throughout training camp. I mean, I think that didn't help them at all.
No.
You're getting a bad look every single day in practice because they don't know what they're doing. You're wasting reps.
Yeah.
You're wasting practices because you don't have the artillery to challenge. I think you saw that when they went and played Oakland, Las Vegas.
Yeah.
During that training camp, they went out there and they looked completely ill-prepared to compete against the Raiders in training camp, and Devontae Adams just pooped all over their heads.
And then what happened in Vegas?
Yeah. Well, here's the interesting thing. So we are on the same page as per usual. I called it a good to very good defense that was closer to good.
Okay.
And I stuck toward the end of the season to make this point. They beat Miami in the second to last game, 23-21.
Mm-hmm.
And people go, well, they beat the Miami Dolphins, the playoff team. That was Skylar Thompson and Teddy Bridgewater, folks.
Yeah.
And they needed a pick 6 by Duggar to win, which, yes, that's a defensive touchdown. But it's also indicative that they put up 23 points on you with Skylar and Ted.
Yeah.
A lot of people looked at that Bengals game and said, man, they held them scoreless in the second half. It was Christmas Eve. Yeah. It was 22-0 at the break. The Bengals were basically mentally home sipping eggnog.
Yeah.
And putting together train tracks.
Yep.
And they stopped playing. And they had the ricochet touchdown to who was that kid? Lil John?
Yes. Oh, what was the
Lil
kid's
Jordan?
name?
It was no, it wasn't him. It was another guy. Was it Lil Jordan?
I can't remember.
Shit. Anyway, it was
I know what you mean. Yeah.
Ricochet touchdown. They got killed by Lamar, as you pointed out. They got killed by Justin Jefferson. They got killed by the Bills after the loss to the Vikings and Justin Jefferson. They lost to the Raiders, as you pointed out.
But what's his name in Chicago? Fields lit them up. He's still running.
And I forgot about this because I was looking at the box score. They lost to the Raiders. Okay. But the Raiders, and people are going to go, well, it was Jacoby Myers and Ramondre. No, the Raiders tied the game on a 30-yard touchdown with 32 seconds left.
Mm-hmm.
They got outgained. I'm rolling now because I got the notes here. Sorry, you're going to have to hold.
Oh, no.
They get outgained by the Cardinals and Colt McCoy through the air. The Cardinals and Colt McCoy, and they needed a fumble return touchdown off a DeAndre Hopkins fumble to salt that game away.
Yep.
Whoever the frig was the Indianapolis quarterback.
Ellen is, how do you say his last name? Not Ellen.
Ellinger.
Ellinger. That's him. Yeah.
Ellinger. Yeah.
And he had like 5 yards through 3 quarters.
Got Frank Reich fired. So just really underwhelming. Yep. So was it a very good, excellent, or championship caliber? I'm going to have to say NFW.
Yeah.
NFW.
Jury's out. Oh, I was going to say, go ahead.
No, you go. You got one more thing, and I'm going to Harry Mann.
Oh, one last thing I'll say about that is only reason I wouldn't call them a bad defense is because you had an offense that was run, pass, punt over and over again, and they had to keep getting back on the field. The offense wasn't good enough to sustain drives to give them a break, and they kept putting them in positions where they had to get back on the field. That's the only thing I would,
That's a very good caveat to add. Next up, we got my guy Harry Mann Jr. who is a consistent and prolific contributor to our podcasts and our questions to Quick Slants. Very simple one here. Who is your breakthrough player this season? I go first. My breakthrough player might not really qualify in some people's minds, but I'm going to say he's going to break through into the consciousness of Patriots fans, and it's going to be Mike Gesicki.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to find a way to deploy him out of the slot, be creative, and I think he's going to be a very reliable, fast, and difficult matchup as he was for the Patriots every time they saw him. So I'm going to think Gesicki's going to return to the guy he was a couple of years ago in Miami, who went away. You got one?
Yeah, it's kind of wishful thinking. I'm looking for Thornton.
Yep. I had him too for a while with him.
Because I think with O'Brien, if he brings back, they get that play action going, I think he can be one of the better deep threats they've had in a long time. And players like that are sexy. So he might have a 3-4 catch game, but if one of them's for 65 yards, people are going to love him. And I think he has the ability to stretch the field for this team and be a big play guy for them. And people look at his speed. His 40 time is what everybody fell in love with. But if you go back and watch his college highlights, he was a killer in the red zone.
Yep.
He was a good player in the back of that end zone. And I think with a competent offensive coordinator, you're going to find him more in those scoring situations. And I kind of think if they can run the ball, I think he's going to be a big factor for them in the deep passing game.
The one thing I think, you look at him and the fastest guy probably they've drafted since Bethel Johnson, who was a second round pick in 2003. The difference is Bethel was kind of just straight line fast and he didn't have gears.
Mm-hmm.
I think Tyquan Thornton has gears and the ability to understand when to accelerate and decelerate. So that's why I think he should be better, but he's going to have to stay healthy, which he has not been able to do, at least during minicamp. My guy, Bobby Rotondo, simple question we've gone over. Do they sign Hopkins? Bobby, thank you for the question. We both think that they probably will. Rick Altham from Rick Altham Golf. Hey, Tom, do you think Pierre Strong is going to see a fair amount of touches this season? Thank you. I'll go first here. I think that'd be preferable. I think Ty Montgomery's injury history is so significant that it's going to be hard to rely on him. Your next best pass catching individual will be Pierre Strong, who was the fastest guy coming out in the 2022 draft. So when you look at the Patriots, who we all have seen to be glacially slow offensively, you got Pierre Strong and Tyquan Thornton in the same draft. Just like you pointed out with corner, they're trying to address something that even the idiots can see is an issue.
Yeah. I mean, I think he's gonna have to, I believe, get more touches. I think I've been screaming since the last couple of years, they need playmakers. And what I mean by playmaker is if you're going to run those screens and run all the short, the slant, stuff like that, just try and get the ball to running backs, get somebody out there if he makes one guy miss, he's gone.
Yep.
And I think you got away with that for years with Tom Brady because I don't care if it's Danny Woodhead, Burke, it didn't matter who he had. White, Kevin Fall, it didn't matter. Lewis, Brady was going to make it happen. But I think with this team, you need a playmaker. You need a guy. Okay, Jones kind of threw that ball behind him a little bit, but he still got 15 yards out of it. And as opposed to, like I always said, the Celtics, these stationary guys, my job is to do this one thing. I'm going to catch it. I'm going to go down. No, find somebody that can make an athletic play and make something out of nothing. I think they need more guys like that and more burners. And, Harris not being there this year. So you're going to need more out of your backs. And I think he's somebody that should get more touches. Yeah.
And you can't have your most explosive offensive player being your kick returner / cornerback.
Yes.
And that's what Marcus Jones is. You can't have it. You don't have that.
That was so frustrating to me. Your best weapon is the guy, the defender. That's what so when he comes in the game, everybody's like, oh yeah, it's I think it's going to him.
Bizarro. Next up, Joe McDonald. Gonna let you take the first bite at this one. I got some intel on this one too, just to look at. Joe McDonald asked, extension candidates have been talked about for a while now, even after the Parker extension. Do we as fans think more of Kyle Duggar than the team does? He seems like a guy I definitely wouldn't want to hit free agency. Thank you. And I'll just mention some of the guys who are hitting free agency at the end of the year. It's Uche, it's Duggar, it's Onwenu. Those are the big three. Then you have Hunter Henry and Gesicki as tight end guys, as others as well. But that's five big and noteworthy ones, I think. So what's your feeling on Duggar specifically as an extension candidate?
It depends on what we see from those tight ends. If they go back to a 2 tight end system, like you said, and then Gesicki's one of your breakout guys, then it's like, okay, they move to the top of the list. Like, we got to take care of this because they're putting points on the board for us. But as far as Duggar, I think he's a good player. I don't think he gets cooked out there. I mean, it depends if you're going to break that. Are you going to break the bank for him? Are you going to treat him like he's Pro Bowl caliber? Or are you just trying to get him to hang around?
Here's the thing. The number 10 paid safety in the NFL in average annual value is a guy named Marcus Williams from the Ravens. He's just not a household name.
Right.
No, do you know how much Marcus Williams is making? He's got a $70 million contract. He's making $14 million a year.
Ooh.
So that feels like a lot.
It does.
I think most people know Kyle Duggar prior to Marcus Williams. Again, maybe I'm not paying enough attention right now, but I just don't know who Marcus Williams is.
That's true.
I just don't.
Yeah.
So do you want to draft and develop a guy like Duggar
mm-hmm.
and then say goodbye to him when he seems like a versatile piece in your defense?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you literally can't take it with you in terms of cap money.
Right.
Suspend it on somebody. We just saw the Jacoby Myers thing. It's absolute head scratcher. Latest example of an FU to a player who you developed and he turned into a good player under your tutelage. And then you said, yeah, screw, we're not going to pay you that. Here, let me bring in this guy I've never met before. So I'd like to see Duggar, Onwenu, and Uche, although Uche I think might be too expensive, but I'd like to see all three of those guys retained.
With that, the division they're in, with all the gunslingers and lights out receivers that they're going to face every week, you might want to keep your core defenders that know you, that trust you, that understand your system. You might want to keep those guys around.
Yep.
And I think this season with the lineup of quarterbacks they're going to face, I think you should just slide him a little money on the side. Like, look, man, we got Aaron Rodgers twice. We got Allen twice. If two is healthy, we got them twice. So we're going to need a smart safety back there that's not going to get us all burnt, especially with McCourty heading out. So it's like, all right, man, is this on you now? You know, you're the next guy in line that knows this better than everybody else. So when we got a rookie that's probably going to be starting that corner. So we might want to keep you back here to kind of lead the way for these other guys.
And you don't want, Cerrone, too many guys walking around the locker room saying, do they love me or do they love me not? Because I think that was a lot of the Devontae Parker motivation.
Mm-hmm.
Certainly not with Bentley. I'm sure that he felt pretty comfortable as he's coming back. But with Parker, they keep sniffing around the hindquarters of DeAndre Hopkins. He's going into his last year. Oh, he's better than me.
Mm-hmm.
People are asking, here, don't sweat it, Devontae. Here's some money for next year. We'll keep you around because you can't have the whole team on expiring contracts.
That's
so
true.
It would make sense if Kyle Duggar is a guy that you anticipate building around. Do you want him kicking rocks all season as he's wandering around playing his ass off? We're trying to play his ass off. On one hand, it's good to have guys play under the pressure of a contract extension to get your best effort. But on the other hand, too, we've seen it not work well when guys think they might have one foot out the door.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd want the guy comfortable. You want him at peace.
Yep.
Coming to practice with a smile on his face.
To lead the team.
I'm feeling good. You don't want the guy coming in miserable late, yelling at everybody because he's upset or nervous about his deal, and his wife's asking him questions. Are we going to have to move? His kids are asking him. It's like you want that guy feeling good about himself. Coming to practice every day.
Yeah, I mean, how much? I'll say it. How much damage did perhaps Tom Brady's wife do over the course of 10 years going?
Yeah,
they're jerking you around.
Yeah.
I mean, you see Brady stuff now. You know what, Skull Crusher, call this up because I found it fascinating. John, if you can find the video from the Jim Gray interview last week when Brady was asked about Bill Belichick, and he gets incredibly weepy. Here it is.
Tom, what did Bill do to bring out the best in you?
I think it's more what did he not do to bring out the best in me. He, everyone always says I was just very lucky. I mean, I think part of it, I came into my career and got drafted by the Patriots. I always joke, I had no idea where New England was when I got drafted. I mean, I flew into Providence, which really confuses you with if you're coming from the West Coast, because I'm like Boston, Providence, and it was Coach Belichick's first year there, and we came in together. And I always think for so many young players, who's going to be there? Anybody could get drafted to a place. Who's going to turn you into something? Who's going to develop you? Who's going to take you under their wing? And sometimes it's a player that does it. And I definitely had a lot of players do that. And obviously, I had someone that really saw something in me.
All right. I've said it before. I'll say it again. There's absolutely nothing I reported over the last decade about the relationship between Brady and Belichick that was inaccurate. Everything, I swear on a stack of Bibles, they really didn't like each other. The space between them has Brady in a position where he looks at things differently. And maybe as he looks back and says, boy, I don't think that Brady was the guy to blame. I think Bill made it harder than it had to be.
Yeah.
But I think Brady looks back. Look, we know that between Giselle, Tom's family, and maybe Alex a little bit, they'd probably say, they're hosing you, Tom. They're hosing you.
Yeah.
He was okay with being hosed for a long time because the payoff was worth it.
Yeah. The winning.
But you can't get the reason I bring that up is when you're going home, you can be content yourself. But when the folks at home are going,
yeah,
where's the contract extension? They're screwing you.
Yeah.
You start to have to drive it into work. Like, are they screwing me?
It's average players go through that. This dude is the Michael Jordan of the NFL. And he's like, they're still like, yeah, we'll talk to you whenever. It's like, but you think about it, Michael Jordan, he went through the same thing in Chicago. Ownership
Jerry
back and forth
You're
for
exactly
years. Right. And the reason he left in 98 is because he couldn't handle them. He got frustrated with them. I don't know why this happens, or coaches, maybe they start to believe it's all them or whatever, but it's Tom Brady. And you heard other players start getting in podcasts and other things who came in and out of no Brady, Sean McCoy talking about, and it's like, man, Brady, he didn't get the best parking spot. They treated him like everybody else in practice. And people are like, there's no way they treated Tom Brady like everybody else. And they're like, yeah, he did. And it's like, yeah, how long could you put up with that? And the whole contract stuff and all that. And it's like, yeah, his family's probably like, dude, you could do this somewhere else. You're Tom Brady. You don't have to put up with this. And he eventually said, you know what? I'll go to Florida.
And people are like, yeah, Brady changed. He was okay with getting shit on when he was 38 or when he was 33. Yeah. Okay. But the point was made by 33. They were trying to make a point. At some point, you don't have to come in and get a pie in the face every day when you're 41 and you got gray in your beard. Okay. All right. I'm just like this 22-year-old from Slippery Rock.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not. Stop it. Hey, what's up, everybody? Listen, I want to encourage you to go and take your first swing at betting MLB on FanDuel and get 10 times your first bet amount in bonus bets. That's up to $200. And that's a lot because just betting $20 means you'll land $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. That's $200 that you can spend betting everything from the money line to the over-under to who you think is going to hit the first home run. All on an app that's safe, secure, and super easy to use. Plus, when you win, you get paid instantly. There's no better place to bet on MLB than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So sign up today and visit FanDuel.com/NSBO to get up to $200 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com/NSBO. FanDuel, official partner of Major League Baseball.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Hope is here. GamblingHelplineMA.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support, Massachusetts. Call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369 New York. 21 plus in present and select states. FanDuel is offering online sports wagering in Kansas under an agreement with Kansas Star Casino LLC. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets that expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG in Colorado, Iowa, Michigan, New Jersey, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Pennsylvania, Illinois, Tennessee, or Virginia. 1-800-NEXT-STEP or text NEXT-STEP to 53342 in Arizona. 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut. 1-800-9-WITH-IT in Indiana. 1-800-522-4700 or visit ksgamblinghelp.com in Kansas. 1-877-770-STOP in Louisiana. Visit www.mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. 1-800-522-4700 in Wyoming or visit www.1800gambler.net in West Virginia.
All right. What's your boldest prediction for the Patriots this upcoming season? Wonders George Plant.
Ooh.
Can I go first?
Go right ahead.
Mac Jones, comeback player of the year.
I see that.
And DeMar Hamlin's got that award sewn up. I don't know, who am I kidding?
Yeah, true. You're right about that. But I want to say that I'm it's like, is it with my heart? I don't know, but I just think that whole offensive coaching staff situation last year was a mess. But I think I might be alone, but I think Jones has skills, man. I think he can throw the football. And I think people are overlooking that. It's like, well, look at, he's not Joe Burrow. He's not Justin Herbert. Look at the guys they're throwing to. I'm a Justin Herbert fan. I wanted Justin Herbert to be a Patriot. Justin Herbert is throwing to guys that he can miss by 6 feet, and they go get it. Mm-hmm. And they do it over and over again. Joe Burrow's out there throwing blind passes to his receiving core in snowstorms.
Yep.
And they're going up and getting it 11, 12 feet in the air.
As the guy from San Diego, the backup said, Jesus, the Chargers said last week, I think it was Kellen Moore, whatever, just throw it up in the jet stream. We got guys who are going to go get it.
Yes. That's the difference. Whereas Jones is being forced to throw it on the numbers to guys who are catching it and going down.
With zero protection.
No, we're right. With no line, his running game is shaky, and you had a D coordinator calling his plays. But yet we want him to be flawless. It's like, yeah, give him that Chargers or even the Bills receiving core. Give him Stephon Diggs and watch him carve people up. He has to be perfect. But I think if the play calling gets back to normalcy, I think Jones can go back, even if he reverts back to where he was a rookie, but with a little more skill and knowledge because he's played more games. I think Jones is going to be a good quarterback. And I think he has way more skills than people are giving him credit for.
Last point on this, and we're going long here, so I'm going to try and speed up it just a smidge. But you watch some of these practice and minicamp practices. Mm-hmm. It's not just in games that he's impressive. He just throws stuff in practice from 40 yards away sometimes, and it's on a friggin' platter. It just falls in so gently. I've said it before. I said it again. I had him on the podcast once. Chad Pennington, who I loved as an NFL quarterback.
Talk about touch.
Talk about touch. Talk about under friggin' rated. He is one of the better players. Whatever. I'm not going to say he's one of the better players the last freaking 20 years, but I loved him. This one's for you. How is it in the best interest of the team to pay Trent Brown right tackle money last year, flip him over to the left side in camp, pissing him off and possibly unmotivating him, and then bring in questionable pieces at the tackle spot this year on the other side?
Playing
How
games
is that
again.
in the best interest of the team?
They're playing games again. Playing games with you're playing around with stuff you shouldn't be playing around with. Your tackles are far too important. You're trying to get your quarterback back on track, your ground game. You're trying to get everything on that offense back on track. And the one thing that could mess it up is your tackles. And I don't know why they're playing games like that. I don't know who's at fault. You might probably know a lot more on the inside, and I'm pretty sure you know a lot more than I do. But I'd treat Trent Brown like if he was Mac Jones. We'd all be buddy with the tackles right about now. So I don't know what's going on with that situation, but I think they need to get that on track first before anything else.
I just think he's a terrible guy to bet on.
Mm.
I'm not saying he's a bad guy. I'm just saying he's a terrible guy to bet on because he's me. I used to take, I don't know if you played this game when you were in high school. My parents were very strict about grades. So when I started at, eighth grade, ninth grade, 10th grade, French, first test, 68, next test, 92.
Mm-hmm.
So I just had to get to about 82.
Yep.
And it just went that way with every class. Just get me to a B. Just get me to a B so I can keep the heat off.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the way he operates. You better play better. Okay. Plays better. And then
back down again. Yeah.
Yep.
Inconsistency.
So it's a tough guy to bet on when you have that kind of operation. Same with me and my grades. That question was from that boy Russo. Meanwhile, David Harton with a good one. Once I scroll down just a smidgen. Question. How crucial is it that the next full generation of locker room leaders emerge this year with Devin and Slater gone, possibly Devin already and Slater next year? Bold prediction. He adds in one. The tackle situation ends up being solvent by week one and decent enough to carry them through the year. I think these questions were so great. You guys did an awesome job with really good stuff, so I appreciate it. I think the Patriots do have leadership. You know that? I do.
Mm-hmm.
I think Mac has to be better at being imperturbable.
Yep.
But I think overall success makes leaders seem great.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that they have quality individuals, high character guys who are good leaders. Duggar, Bentley, Adrian Phillips, Jonathan Jones, offensively, Andrew, Stevenson. These are guys who, you'd like on your team. You'd like to be your neighbor. You'd like to be friends because they're solid individuals. I've always realized that being in that locker room. There's guys who are half my age who I wish I had as much stuff on the ball as. But the problem is sometimes, like last year, the infantry can only do so much if the majors and generals are back at the base, screwing up the provisions.
Yep.
And that's what was going on last year.
And I think the leadership question, I think, should be pointed toward the coaching staff and not the players. Are we going to get real leadership from that coaching staff? Are we going to get guys that they respect? And outside of Bill, we know Bill is respected. Are the players going to fall in line and respect that coaching staff the way they used to? It didn't matter who the coaches were. That whole the Patriot way or whatever you want to call it, where guys were falling in line. Like you said, if you got great guys in the locker room on the team, our question is still going to be that coaching staff. How are they going to handle it? And how are the players going to respond to that staff? So I think we should watch that dynamic, coaches, players, more than the players being, leaders amongst themselves. Because, these guys, they aren't bad guys, like you said. There's not stuff going on everywhere else. The biggest thing was the coaching staff, and did the players, how confident or how much trust do the players have in that coaching staff, especially on the offensive end of that team?
Got a good question here from Tua turned the ball over. It's Tim's Sunscreen on Twitter. This is a great question. You get this one. What would the Patriots' record have been last year with Bill O'Brien a coordinator?
Oof. I
They
think
went
it would have been
8-9. They went 8-9.
They were 8-9. I think it would have been the same. And
They could have beaten Miami.
You probably would have stolen
the Raiders.
I think they would have won that Raiders game. I think Bill O'Brien would have told them just take a knee. We're gonna go to overtime on that one. But I think the issue, I still think more of it was on the defense. I think a lot of those games is because they were giving up 30 and asking that offense to play to keep up. And could Bill O'Brien get that roster to get 30 a game to keep up with what the defense was giving up? I don't know. But there were some games early on. I think that the Ravens game, the score might have said one thing, but they were in that game until the last.
Yeah, that was Mac operator error. And that was, somewhat it was Devontae Parker not knowing where in God's name to go.
Yeah.
That was one of his best passing games he's had. That might have been the best passing game he's had as a Patriot. He was throwing everywhere.
Yeah. I think so. Yeah, they might have got 10 wins. If they got 8, they might have got 10.
I said 11.
Mm-hmm.
I said 11, which partly feeds into my optimism for this season. Sean Cox at Bo Soccer 2003. Mr. Curran, where do you think the Patriots stand on the D-Hop sweepstakes? Could there be a point where Bill pulls the offer off the table? Thank you, sir, for taking my question. We both think, Sean, that they are at the top of the class.
Mm-hmm.
Another question here. It's again back to Trent Brown. Eddie Camp 67. Hi, Tom. Do you think that Trent Brown makes it out of training camp with the team, or do you see them moving on from him? You guys are the best. Go Pats. Eddie Cam, you're the best. Dude, that's in play, isn't it, Cerrone?
Yeah.
And you got to come down to camp someday or up to camp.
I would love to, man. You let me know. I'll be there.
Yep. I think that'd be a good take for us. And it's a good opportunity for you to to sit up there and say, to see what we're talking about, because the condition Trent was in a minicamp, being able to go through only one drill before tapping out after showing up late for a mandatory minicamp, there's a point at which you say, you're showing me up, you're making us look stupid.
Yeah.
We need you, but do we need you so much that we look stupid trying to accommodate you?
Yeah, that's nuts. Yeah. I think one more of those and that's it. I think one more and that's it. The person who sent you that question, yeah, he might not make it through August if that happens again, or anything close to that happens again. And yeah, I mean, I can't figure it out. I'm not a professional athlete, but there's no way in the world someone say, hey man, you can play pro ball, just show up every day on time and be in shape and not do it. It just drives me crazy. But I think they're trying to get past all the craziness of last year, the buffoonery that was going on with this team and being the laughing stock of social media and so many of these games and around the league. Kraft is probably sitting there like, no, we can't have this.
Oh, he was.
we can't have this.
It's funny too with Trent Brown, because say it's July 28th, he hasn't shown up, he shows up, Patriots cut him, Trent Brown released.
Mm-hmm.
People are going to say that on many levels that the Patriots just, have really taken a step back at left tackle, and now you're screwed without Trent Brown. If you're not going to get a representative effort from a player at a position that you're spending $10 million on cap money, you got to get out of that business. It's not Trent Brown 2018. It's Trent Brown who is not the player that you can do that. So it would be the right decision.
Mm-hmm.
Was it the wrong guy to bet on, like we talked about earlier? Yeah, maybe, but bets are bets for a reason because they're a gamble.
Yeah.
So I would say to them that that's less on Belichick and more on Trent Brown. Could you have been more proactive in some ways? Yes. But in the end, that would be a Trent Brown failing, I think, and not a Patriots failing if he showed up or didn't show up in such a condition to be able to play as one of the better tackles in the league.
One thing I would add to that right quick, if you do move on from him in August or whatever, before you go into your season, this is where the all-time great coaching has to come in play. We got to find somebody else. This is where the scouting and the player personnel, all these people come in and say, we need a left tackle. We need one ASAP. Where now the coaching staff has to say, okay, we got to coach somebody up. Bill was known for doing that for years, finding guys that no one ever heard of and coaching them up. And this might be one of those moments where it's like, we got to find another tackle and we got to get him up to speed before the season starts or get him going early. But I think this is where the coaching staff now has to earn their money. We can't just rely on the name now. We have to coach somebody up that can play that position and get him up to speed by September.
Good stuff. Hey, I'm sorry, I was scrolling. I was listening. Get him up to speed by September.
No, it's all right. It's good.
Right. It's fine. No one ever wants to get the impression they're not being listened to.
Oh, it's fine.
Stefano! He asks, what's going on with Juju? Is he grasping the playbook? Is he building any kind of rapport with Matt? Give me some insider reporting, please.
That's on
Stefano,
you,
I'm going to disappoint your ass right now, Stefano. I don't know. I know that he worked with the team. I know that he worked out and was present for some of the OTAs.
Mm-hmm.
I know that he and Juju worked out together. It's just a hard time to get any kind of that insider up-to-date information on these guys. I'll get it to you as soon as flipping possible. But I will say this, Cerrone, there's no escaping the comparison that is going to go on all year long between him and Jacoby Myers.
Mm-hmm.
And the Patriots better be right, because that was your most dependable offensive player for the last 3 seasons.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think Juju people forget, he was borderline on his way out. And I think Mahomes saved his career and bought him 3-4 more seasons. But remember, he was going back and forth with somebody on Twitter. I forgot who it was saying, man, you was on your way out of the league. And I can't remember who the player was, but playing with Mahomes saved him. And we can go back and say, yeah, because Pittsburgh didn't have anything at quarterback. And now he's going to have a chance to play with Jones, play with Belichick, whatever. I think he has some talent there, some value, but being on the same page with Jones, I think is going to be very important, because it's all about a step. If he's a step behind or a step slow or a step off, they're going to lose, or they're not going to be able to move the ball, and it's going to look bad. Whereas Jones and Myers at least they were on the same page. Jacoby Myers was a good go-to guy for them on third down. And like you said, if they're not going to get that out of Juju, the fans are going to let them know about it. If they lose, if they're winning and it doesn't happen, he's going to be able to get away with it. But if the L's pop up or he drops a pass on third down with Aaron Rodgers sitting over there in New York or Meadowlands, wherever they play, the fans are going to let everybody have it if that situation pops up.
Absolutely. And because Jacoby Myers was still improving as a player, and I think he is still improving. And I don't care if it's an $11 million a year half-ass contract, which it really isn't $11 million a year. It was a snatch catcher by the end of the season.
Yes. And if he's over there lighting it up in that giant living room in Vegas, oh man, it's going to look bad.
My guy, Chuck Cote, just says one comment for you, Tom. Offensive tackle. That's it. Have a nice 2-week hibernation. Always love hearing from you, Chuck. Bob circles up. Bobby G 5391. Confident the Patriots will sign Hopkins. I'm just reading these so I can tell you I appreciate you guys writing in. You've heard it by now, Bob. Thanks again for writing in. Casey Durfee, last question. It's a good one. We're going to wrap it after this. Besides the obvious, tackle and wide receiver, where do you think the Patriots could add some more depth? Corner, still, because you have two outside corners and one guy tried to slip through security with loaded handguns. That's an issue. Second one.
Forgot about that.
I know. Second one, tight end. It's just not deep enough right now. It's Hunter Henry and it's Mike Gesicki. Neither one is a road grader. They kind of should get Dwayne Allen's ass back in here to help out. What do you got?
Ooh, I agree with tight end. I don't want to see anybody get hurt, but if one does go down, you're really short. I want to see a running back, but I kind of, there's a name out there that no one's kind of talking about. I don't know if people think he's washed or what, but anything on Ezekiel Elliott. I think he can be a goal line guy for them. With losing Harris, kind of more of a power guy, between the tackles guy, somebody like Zeke Elliott in the red zone playing in New England where the weather is going to get bad, I think could help. If you're not going to go for Cook, who's more of a speedy outside the tackles guy. But if you, I think you might be able to get Zeke cheaper, but I think he can be valuable to you. And once you get in the red zone, and if you decide you want to be more of a power team, and maybe they have to decide what kind of identity they want to have. Are they going to be a spread team? Are they going to be a power team? Are they going to be a fast team? What's going to be their identity? And I think if they're going to be this two tight end team, I think in order to sell that play action and all the stuff you want to do with these two tight ends, you need a running game. You need somebody between the tackles. And I think somebody like Zeke Elliott would be a big help.
Really interesting because, you talk about what Ramondre Stevenson kind of reminds me of in role in terms of a guy who he was targeted 80 friggin' times last year. You know that in the passing game?
That's a lot.
And Zeke obviously was a terrific pass catching back too. So I would say right now Ramondre Stevenson is better than Ezekiel Elliott. But if you got a guy who's 60 to 70% of Ramondre Stevenson in Ezekiel Elliott with a very similar play style, well, shit, you get your backup. And too bad if Ezekiel Elliott's not ready to be a backup. Because there comes a time in life. Yep. Hey, there comes a time when we go for an hour and 5 minutes. Wait till Phil finds out about this. This was a blast, man.
Thank you for having me, man. I really appreciate it. And hey, y'all need me to come join you during our camp? Let me know. I'll be there.
100%. You're terrific. I love your attitude. And again, thanks again. Really enjoying it, spending some time with you, buddy.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. I appreciate the opportunity, man. And hopefully I'll be around the media a lot more in the future.
All right. There's your elite media member. It's Cerrone Battle. See you later, buddy.
All right, man. Take it easy.